Greetings, humans. It's time for the Football Diehards Week 3 injury review, preview, update, overview thing we like to do every Saturday. I'm Bob Harris, senior editor here at Football Diehards, and I'll take you through all the major injuries and the major storylines that might affect your fantasy lineups heading into Sunday's games. And I'll start by saying something I seem to say a lot. Things move fast in AB world. Antonio Brown, released by the Patriots on Friday. I'm not going to get into the details here. Suffice it to say, I don't know that this will be a quick return. If you want to get the details of the off-field issues that led to his release by the Patriots, hit the late-breaking update section, follow the Antonio Brown thread. You'll hear it all and see why that it seems unlikely teams will be in a rush to sign him, perhaps preferring to wait out the NFL investigation into the latest round of off-field issues. So watch for that. Beyond that, there's some guys you need to get out of your lineups. Those guys are Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Cam Newton, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, because they're not in their lineups anymore. And I'll dig into all this. We'll go through these games in chronological order from early afternoon kickoffs up through Monday, so you'll have an idea of your fallback plans. We'll start with the game we're all waiting for, the Lamar Jackson-Patrick Mahomes matchup in Kansas City, the Chiefs and Ravens. And Damian Williams will not play for the Chiefs, the running back ruled out with a knee injury. LaShawn McCoy is questionable, a game-time decision. Seems to be trending in a good direction, but we won't know until the 90 minutes leading up to kickoff for sure that he's going to play. I suspect he will. Darwin Thompson, the talented rookie, standing by. Darrell Williams also in the mix. That'll be something we'll watch. Tyreek Hill ruled out as well. He seems to be improving, was seen dribbling a basketball with both hands, no longer wearing a sling on his shoulder, so not there yet, but trending in a good direction as well. Maybe start practicing in a few weeks. On the other side of the ball, Mark Andrews listed as questionable with a foot issue. Expect him to play. This seems like it'll be a regular occurrence. They give him time off in practice to keep the foot healthy and keep him healthy. His role isn't huge, but it's very productive, right? In terms of fantasy numbers, they've been phenomenal. Also in that game, Marquise Brown missed Friday's practice, but he's not even on the injury report. Kind of same deal with him. Watch him and Andrews from a week-to-week basis. They may be listed as questionable, may miss time, but it doesn't seem, unless you hear otherwise, that this is more maintenance than injury-related. Moving on, the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Detroit Lions. This one's a mess. Deshaun Jackson ruled out at wide receiver with a groin issue. Don't know that he'll be back before week 5. Remember, they played Sunday against Detroit, then they have a game Thursday night. So 2 games in 10 days, the Thursday night against the Packers. The talk is maybe Jackson tries to come back week 5. Alshon Jeffrey, the same was said of him, but he's listed as questionable with his calf injury. So that's one we'll watch in the 90 minutes leading up to kickoff, as well as Dallas Goedert. I will say I talked to Dave Spadaro from PhiladelphiaEagles.com this week and asked him what might happen. And he said, Zach Ertz, lots of targets, like 20. And I think he was only half joking. But in addition, Nelson Aguilar, the rookie J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, also available. Expect him to play a bigger role. Even Mac Hollins might. They promoted a practice squad receiver, Greg Ward, today. But Jeffrey and Goddard will be looking for the game time decisions on those. For the Jets, taking on the now Antonio Brownless Patriots. By the way, the Patriots are going to be fine, right? They were fine week 1 without Brown, scored 33 points. Everyone fared well. I think Josh Gordon owners have to be happy. Julian Edelman owners have to be happy. Philip Dorsett is going to play a greater role as well. So Matt Lacoste is questionable for them. The tight end is something that seems to be a weekly occurrence for him. He did play last week. On the other side of the ball, though, the Jets are down to their third quarterback. Luke Falk will be the starter with Trevor Siemian injured and requiring season-ending surgery following Monday night's game against the Browns. Sam Darnold out until he's targeting a week 5 return, has the mononucleosis. He has been back in the team's facility. He's trying to do his best to keep his weight up and be ready to come when he is cleared. And the hope is after their week 4 bye, he will return for week 5. Also, Demaryius Thomas has been listed as doubtful. He was traded for prior to last week's game, came with a hamstring injury. Seems like he suffered a setback this week. That's something to watch. The Indianapolis Colts are hosting the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are good to go, but the Colts have Marlon Mack with a calf injury listed as questionable and T.Y. Hilton with a quad issue listed as questionable. Mack was on the practice field Friday working on a limited basis, trending in the right direction. He was seen earlier in the week carrying a walking boot, but not wearing it. So interesting there. If he can't go or he goes, suffers a setback or struggles, Jordan Wilkins and Naheem Hines will be standing by in terms of Hilton. This is kind of a regular occurrence in Indy. He'll work limited all week and then go out and have a great game. So assuming he's active, I think he's still a safe play. If not, Deion Kane, Paris Campbell, the rookie, Chester Rogers will all be asked to do a little more. The Buffalo Bills hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. They'll do so without Devin Singletary, out with a hamstring injury, and Tyler Kroft. He returned last week from off-season foot injury, played, then sprained an ankle in practice this week. He's out, so he's not a big fantasy prospect. Devin Singletary is becoming one. In his absence, Frank Gore looks like a great play. Check my DFS 3 and out tournament column for more on that matchup, but it's very favorable for Rancor and Josh Allen. I mean, it's a good matchup for them. On the other side of the ball, A.J. Green still out with the ankle injury he suffered the first week of August. No timetable still for his return, but he is working on the rehab field on the side, so progressing, but nowhere near ready to return. The Green Bay Packers are hosting the Denver Broncos. Jimmy Graham has a groin injury. Not sure where he's at. The early reporting in the week was that maybe he misses a game. Then he got on the practice field Friday, and now he's listed as questionable. Mercedes Lewis and Robert Tonyan standing by. They promoted a practice squad player at the position as well, so maybe just to give him a little depth in case. But Graham will be a game-time decision, as is Jake Kumaro. Down the depth chart a little bit at wide receiver, but he has a shoulder injury listed as questionable as well. And a game we're all looking forward to, the Dallas Cowboys will host the now led by Josh Rosen Miami Dolphins. That's right, Josh Rosen elevated to starter in the middle of this week by head coach Brian Flores. Just at his time, and why wouldn't it be? Ryan Fitzpatrick moves back to the bench. Albert Wilson is ruled out of this game with the same calf injury that cost him last week's game. No timetable for his return. Preston Williams, a promising youngster, big-bodied receiver, is getting more playing time with Wilson out, as is Jakeem Grant. But not a lot of offense there, right? On the other side of the ball, there has been. The Dallas Cowboys, Michael Gallup is out for about a month after having a meniscus repair done. This week, look, Dak Prescott's been playing lights out. Amari Cooper, he had 8 different receivers last week. Amari Cooper has a tough matchup this week, but it's the Dolphins. Randall Cobb has been productive. Devin Smith flashed last week. I mean, the tight ends are on a tear. Jason Witten has been on a scoring streak, so everyone seems viable there. But of great importance and interest to fantasy owners, Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, said this week they're ready to unleash Zeke Elliott. He's ready for the full workload after they've ramped him up the first 2 games following his summer-long holdout. So we have that going on in Dallas. And moving on to the late afternoon kickoffs, plenty of issues there as well. As I mentioned, Eli Manning, an era comes to an end. He has been benched in favor of Daniel Jones. The rookie, Danny Dimes, comes in. Look, he's got a little more mobility. He threw the ball well in preseason. He's got some reasonable weapons in Saquon Barkley, and by reasonable, I mean amazing in Saquon Barkley. Very good in Evan Engram. He will benefit from the return of Sterling Shepard this week. He is back from a concussion, fully cleared off the injury report. The bad news is Cody Latimer, another starting receiver there until Golden Tate gets back from his suspension, is out this week with a concussion. Benny Fowler, next man on the depth chart, is questionable with a hamstring injury. We dip down into Russell Shepard level, etc. against the Buccaneers. So, I mean, but look, the key weapons for Daniel Jones in his debut are going to be Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Engram, and he's got those. So we'll see how he fares. For the Buccaneers, everyone's up and ready to go. Jameis Winston had a little bit of a foot issue heading into the week, but he's not on the injury report in the end. Mike Evans, does he show up? It's a tough matchup against Janoris Jenkins, but not unbeatable. We'll see what happens in this one. The Giants don't get a lot of pressure on the pass, or maybe Winston can have one of his good games. Ben Roethlisberger, surgery on his right elbow, his throwing elbow. He is done for the year, placed on IR. A second-year man, Mason Rudolph, comes in and gets the start. He fared pretty well in relief of Ben last week, and look, the eyeball test is good. So maybe a little more run-pass balance with Ben out and Rudolph in, and that's good news for James Conner, who came off the injury report on Friday. Had a little bit of a knee issue, was limited early in the week, worked fully on Friday. He's good to go. One other item of interest there, Deontay Johnson, the rookie wide receiver, moves into the starting lineup, replacing Dante Moncrief, who suddenly forgot how to catch the football. He's played very poorly. James Washington stays as the number 3. Johnson moving in alongside Juju Smith-Schuster. On the other side of the ball, San Francisco, Tevin Coleman remains out, but he is progressing out of the walking boot, has a high ankle sprain. Until he returns, though, Raheem Mostert will continue to nip at the heels of Matt Breida, who's the best play in the backfield, but Mostert had some great plays last week. Jeff Wilson is a goal line threat there, so the 49ers will continue to rely on a committee. Also worth noting is Trent Taylor, the wide receiver, slot receiver, placed on IR this week. Sounds like maybe a setback to his ongoing issues. And Jalen Hurd, the rookie wide receiver, also ruled out of this one. Guys like Richie James get a little more time in the slot. And Deebo Samuel's been playing extremely well, much better than Dante Pettis to this point. Moving on to Los Angeles is hosting the Houston Texans. Mike Badgley, the kicker, questionable once again. He's missed the first 2 games. Seems closer to returning, but why take any chances? They're kickers. There's a lot of them. Ty Long, the punter, has been filling in capably week 1, less so last week. So that's what you get when you have a punter do your placement work, right? So beyond that, Hunter Henry, of course, remains out with his tibial plateau fracture. Ouch. Cam Newton Ruled out. Midfoot sprain that he suffered in week 3, aggravated last week. Kyle Allen takes over as the quarterback. Last week I saw Kyle Allen was week 17 last season. He got a win. The only win the Panthers have had in the last 9 games has come with Kyle Allen as their starting quarterback. So I don't think this bodes horribly for guys like Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, certainly not Greg Olsen. Olsen is listed as questionable with ongoing back issues, but expected to play in a great matchup. The Cardinals can't stop tight ends. I mean, in the last 2 games, we've seen that TJ Hawks and Mark Andrews have crushed them. So, and this goes back beyond that. So, interesting matchup there. I think Allen is capable enough in a really solid matchup to keep those fantasy weapons we're interested in working on schedule, and that's what we hope for. The Seattle Seahawks hosting the New Orleans Saints without Drew Brees. He had thumb surgery this week. Successful thumb surgery, right thumb, throwing hand, injured in Los Angeles last week. Teddy Bridgewater took over. Expect him to start. I know Sean Payton played a little coy with this one, heading into the game, but Bridgewater's a starter. Taysom Hill will chip in with some specialty plays as expected. The big question here is, boy, that offense looked horrible last week. It wasn't looking great with Breeze. Didn't look great with Teddy Bridgewater. The hope is with a full week of first team reps, he can do a little better job of keeping the guys like Mike Thomas, Jared Cook, Alvin Kamara on schedule for us as fantasy owners. Traquan Smith, the wide receiver, is ruled out of this one with an ankle injury, so Ted Ginn won't lose money of his workload. We'll see if Teddy Bridgewater can get him the ball. So there's that. On the other side of the ball, Rashard Penny added the injury report on Friday with a hamstring issue, so he was injured in practice Friday. Never a good sign. Good news for Chris Carson investors, though, obviously, for the obvious reasons. Beyond that, David Moore looks like he's ready to return from a shoulder injury. He's off the injury report. Jerron Brown, toe, also off the injury report. The Sunday night game, Rashard Higgins listed as questionable going into this one. He missed last week's game. He's the wide receiver 3 if he's available. Damon Ratley takes over if he's not, so they're working behind Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry no matter what. David Njoku, the tight end, placed on IR, suffered a broken wrist and a concussion. The broken wrist, obviously, the bigger issue. He will not need surgery, though, and could return in 8 weeks, so that's worth watching. There on the other side of the ball, Tyler Higbee is out with the the lung contusion he suffered last week. Malcolm Brown had an ankle issue that limited him early in the week. He's off the injury report on Friday. Monday night, Trey Burton still dealing with the groin issue. Watch the main page of the site for the latest on him, as well as on Jordan Reed for the Redskins. A month removed from his concussion, he still hasn't been cleared. This is getting a little worrisome. So there we have it. Those are the injuries you need to know about. Heading back to the website, we have lots of information up of special interest. Tune in Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Kyle Dvorak will host, and Bobby Gomes, former millionaire maker on DraftKings, will do some DFS lineup builds and answer your questions on live video. That's 9 a.m. Eastern. I'll be on the SiriusXM pregame show with Jeff Mans right up through kickoff. So check that out if you get that. Also check out the Football Diehards on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio every weekday, 6 to 8 p.m. And Saturday nights, Mike Dempsey and myself on SiriusXM NFL Radio, Channel 88, 3 hours of Football Diehards on that. Beyond that, tons of columns, whether it's John Laub, Brad Cruz, a great high-stakes player, Bobby Gomes, myself, Gary Davenport, Justin Linero, Kyle Dvorak, Mike Valverde, Matthew Sharon, Evan Tarciano. Tons of good information up there to help you keep up to speed. Plenty of tools and other fun stuff. So dial into the website, follow up the late breaking news section for all the latest information, and good luck this week. Let's get some wins, people. See you next week.